Today I sit down with a funny guy. Most people know him as somebody who has made a video that was funny, that made them laugh. Me, one of my favorite ones that made me laugh out loud, literally, was this one.
Hey, everybody, on the line right now. FIFA's been cracking down on us real hard this year, yeah?
He's a master of reorganizing and representing information that's out there. He uses the bridge of comedy to do it a lot. There's a lot more mastery behind what he does, and that's the part that really intrigued me about seeing how he works. I got to see him work live in the field, and I saw how he puts things together. As a soccer player, I couldn't help but think of the analogy of coaching. When I'm watching him, and of course, we're making soccer content, right? Shout out to Paradise Soccer Club. Not only are we on the soccer pitch and we're doing a funny skit for a local soccer company, the setting is already encouraging this kind of interaction. But for me, what I saw was I saw a coach. I saw a coach coaching the players. And the role that I saw Kulani playing was one of the one putting together the pieces, the one organizing, manipulating. Any participant in a team sport, be it on the coach, be it on the sidelines with the manager staff, back office, or actually on the pitch, everyone knows that there's roles to play, that we're all making efforts towards a collective vision, a collective result, a collective goal, a collective strategy. And being there to watch this group of people on the pitch, what I saw in Kulani was that of a leader, that of a person who puts things together, like the chess player who's moving pieces on the board towards a collective goal. In this case, it's to make people laugh. Essentially, that's what I do. That's what you do. That's why you watch this channel. You like when we have conversations about people who analyze things and rearrange them. Put simply, that's what we are as creatives, as artists. That's what keeps us going. And the way he does it is not just with things that make you laugh. So although the medium of comedy is one thing that Kulani has mastered, rearranging this and that and putting it together, I was very much more interested, and still am more interested, in how he sees story and how he sees character, how he sees dialogue, screenwriting, visuals, more than just the funny stuff. There's a lot more depth to Kulani than what most people might associate with him, with his presence online. And I think he has so much more impact outside of comedy. And that's the part that I'm very interested in, not just today, but moving forward. By the time you're seeing this, hopefully the seeds that he shared with me of his thought process and what he's doing with his projects is already into fruition, is already in movement, has momentum, and has support. Hopefully it's already out and you've seen it. So I'm super excited to see what's in the future when it comes to story writing, when it comes to media, when it comes to just being a cool brother. This is Kulani.
When did you get into all this?
What's that?
When did you get into all this?
I like purchased everything last summer.
For the purpose of podcasting, or
yeah,
and
for doing
videography?
a podcast, but then also for work. So like I knew I had to justify the price tag. I was like, I gotta make this make money.
Yeah.
So I just implemented it into my, at that time, my current business plan.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, okay, how can I just deepen the value I'm giving to my current clients versus like going out and searching for new ones?
Yeah.
How can I just give them, instead of like $2,000 worth, $20,000 worth, $200,000 worth? And I was like, well, it has to be somewhat like this, in that in 1 hour we can create 50 times what we did within 1 hour last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing it live, multi-purposing long-form content into all these little micro pieces, that sort of, it's like, I look at it as turning down the dial of, I would say, like, not too much of polishedness and like professional cleanliness. What you think is like, I hate the word, but cinematic.
Mm.
But just ramping up the dial of consistency in numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and like over time. So instead of giving you one banger post, what if I give you 100 that you could use for this whole quarter? So I looked into it and I was like, well, I'll switch from Micro Four Thirds to Sony, go mirrorless, full frame. Help me with that. These guys' autofocus is on point. So like the autofocus, then also the low light capabilities, which you can kind of mitigate with glass.
Mm-hmm.
That, and then also just the production level. So like these guys are my workhorses,
Yeah.
compared to what I used to have. And
it can just support the kind of high level output that I want it to. And then just along the way, and it's still evolving because like, I'll just be honest, like this right here is, I just counted, it's gonna be like episode 34, 34 or maybe 32 or 31, depending there's a few things I looked, I was like, that's not really consistent. I mean, I hope we get into all of that kind of stuff because I know you about that like content, consciously creating content. So I just really thought, one, I want to have someplace that I can do here in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Hence, daddy hijacking one of the bedrooms. No choice. I got a few more years until to outgrow that bedroom. Yeah. And they had to be like, yo, studio or me? I'm like, yeah. So I'm trying to squeeze as much as I can out of it now. Yeah. I wanted it to be something I could just do here. And I know it's kind of like the home gym complex where it's like, if you have a home gym, you're not going to use it. Yeah. And there's a lot of psychology that goes into like getting in the car, driving to a gym, paying for a membership versus ordering something on Amazon, letting it sit in your box for garage, in your garage for 3 months, setting it up, letting it sit for another 3 months. No. You know, and when in that time, if you just paid for a membership, you would have like. So there's like, create at home, create a place, an environment at home that supports the habit that I want to basically flex. Yeah. There was that aspect to it. There's a lot of things that kind of came together. And there's also like, after doing this, I mean, I realized just how much more other people that I know, like in 1 degree, been waiting for something like this. Yeah. And it's like, well, instead of, again, that outward looking out for new clients, new customers, and like last summer, right? I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? I realized like, no, 180, I'm gonna look in at the people I already have in my phone book, the people I've already worked with, the people I know like 1 degree, and I'm gonna just flood them with a higher level. Like if I was like the only one who could offer this in my own 1 degree network, then let me just maximize that first before I try and go out like, hey, stranger, and like pitch you, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that's kind of
get the portfolio on.
It's kind of a base. But yeah, man, welcome to the show. Let's, there's a lot of things that I do want to get into selfishly. Yeah. As a fan, as someone we worked together a couple months ago, and there's a lot of insights that I kind of gleaned off our short conversation, and I hope we can dive into it more. Namely, writing. Writing. I know you got a project. We'll definitely get into that, and the writing, the comedy, the social media, just being in Hawaii, all of that stuff. I want to dive into, but first, just kind of tell the people who you are, what you do, man.
My name's Kulani Watson. I go by Cutlass on Instagram. The name came, I used to own it was my grand uncle's Cutlass Oldsmobile.
That's why.
So that's where the Cutlass comes from. It's not Cutlass or cut_. I think Cutlass was taken at the time, but I just put cut_last. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. Glad you got to it. So it's your uncle's car. That's where you got it from. Yeah. Okay.
His health kind of took a turn, but he gave the family the car, and I was in college, and I took it, and that car gave me so many issues, but I felt so good driving around in that. It's a Cutlass Supreme Oldsmobile. So nice.
And so where was that? College?
BYU, Hawaii.
Oh, represent.
Yeah.
Laie,
over there in Laie. Yeah.
That's where you met Crichton. That's where.
No, I didn't meet Crichton until I was living up in Utah. But that's another long story. Like I'm sure we'll get into it. But
yeah.
Long story short, I create content on social media, and I've just recently gotten into writing within the past 2 years, I think.
Oh, so it's recent.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit. I mean, I've been writing like small skits here and there, but more seriously getting into screenplay writing. That like 2020 when everybody had time,
So you screenplay writing, screenwriting, is there a difference?
I don't know. I'm not like probably. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, a lot of people pick something up 2020.
Yeah.
So for you, it was writing.
Yeah.
And when you say writing, I'm curious, what kind of tools do you use? Like, I have a notebook here, but like, do you have a go-to notebook or an app?
Oh, just notes on your phone. Like if I have an idea on something, and this goes for like the skits as well. Like if I have an idea on something, I'll just really quickly jot it down. I'm sure comedians, like stand-up comedians, do this as well. They just jot it down real quick. But that's my thing. I don't have an app or, I mean, if I do have a notebook, but I don't write too much into it because I don't carry it around with me all too much. But my phone's always on me, so.
Do you do voice memos?
No, I don't.
Really?
Because actually, I kind of do. Like if I have an idea that needs to be translated, like if I do a note and then I read it and I'm just like, what the hell was I thinking? What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
And then I'll do an actual video like where I'll record myself and then I'll just kind of like lay it out so that I know where it was going like visually. And
so I kind of want to jump into that already because we met under the context of you being the funny guy, funny guy, social media behemoth. And I was just the video guy, so to speak. But when we were actually there, you were doing all the video. And so I was like very, very, very much so almost like, I was like, wow, I'm thinking selfishly, right? Keep in mind, there's the social media meeting, like in the DMs and all that, the planning, logistics, and then the in-person meeting in real life. Yeah. So I'm making that jump. And when I see you in the field, like shooting, I can't help but think of myself as the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he's doing what I'm doing. But now I turn on the education like lens. What's he doing? How's he doing it different? What can I learn from this? And what's his process? Like any creative, right? We kind of dissect another creative. Yeah. And so for me, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Let me watch. And I noticed how when you were shooting, one, it was linear in that I could tell it was almost like you had A, B, C, D, E, F punch type of thing. Yeah. Yeah. And that came from a lot of the talking that happened beforehand. Yeah. So credit to the homies, right? Oh, credit to the homies. Like I'm not discounting everything that happened there. No. But when I saw you shooting, I'm like, oh, one, it's linear, but two, he already knows the punch and he's just leading up to it.
Like, how do we get there?
Right? Yeah. How do we get there? We know the landing. Yeah. Yeah. We know the takeoff. Yep. Okay, let's put it in the pieces together. Exactly. And then let's do the takes. Yeah. And then also basically what I'm saying is like, you're not just a writer. I was like, there's a lot of labels we could put on this guy. Third person just watching. Yeah. He's the camera operator. he's the screenwriter. He's the director. Yeah. He's also the performer, like an actor. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Damn. There's a lot of things going on here that I think just saying like I'm a writer sort of discredits to your, I'm saying like, because I got to witness it. So I know it's like hard to pick like one hat. We're all wearing like 85 hats, right?
Jack of all trades kind of thing.
But what hats do you wear? And which ones do you feel like, I want to get rid of these? And which ones do you feel like, this is the only one I want to wear?
Well, I'll start with the only one I want to wear is writing. I found a passion in it, like, and it's an itch to be able to just create a story off the top of your head. Man, it's a drug, to be honest. Like once you get, and this is not just, it's aside from the skits, it's like creating a short film or a feature film, like, and you really got to push yourself to figure out, it's the punch, you know, like, how do I get to the punch, you know? Even in a feature film, there's always a punch, even if it's, you know, I'm talking about like joke wise, but in movies, there's a punch all the time. It's the climax, you know, of the thing.
The payoff.
Yeah, exactly. How do I get there? And it's everything in between that's just like, you have to plan it out, and it's just a drug. Yeah.
Well, so if you could just hit that straight dope, so to speak, and just be working on the punches, for example, like, first of all, is that something that would you say most of the time you see the punch, and then you build everything around it?
Yeah, it's we always talk about this. Well, with my wife and then with the guys too. It's like when we watch comedy shows or if we watch movies, comedy shows, we're like, we can see the punch already. And it kind of ruins it for us because we've all surrounded ourselves with comedy and how to set up a punch. And we're just like, and there it is.
Yeah. And thank you.
Thank you. And then even with movies too, like you're able to, like, it's ruined movies for me. Like,
I know what you mean.
You know, like it just started off and then you're like, well, that guy was a little sketchy in the beginning. And then you're like, but they're best friends, you know? I was like, he's going to screw him over. And there it is. He screwed him over and, you know, so I forgot.
Well, like you start with the punch and you work around it. And also I would say like, if, I guess for you, it sounds like who you need to sort of like delegate some of these hats off to are the people in that let's bridge the gap. People who are good at that, who are like, I want to wear the bridge the gap hat, so to speak. Yeah. You're like, I got the punch. Yeah. Help me bridge it. Those kind of people. I mean, I bet you already know some of those. But like to your point about ruining everything, it's like once you become a creator, it's almost like a curse, a blessing and a curse, because now you look at everything like, man, like you said, predictable. Yeah. Too on the nose. Yeah. I would have done this differently. And then you come like this critic, this hater.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because you don't mean to come off as that, but it's just you've trained yourself, you know, throughout the years to.
And even if it's not necessarily like a hater, you're still thinking, how would I do it?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly
it's it. Like, sorry, babe, this has turned into a little note-taking session. You know what I mean? Yeah. I bet she's like, oh, man, he's over here again.
Always with my wife, I'm just like, I think that's a bad guy. It's like, how can you tell that? And it's like, and then an hour later, it's a bad guy.
You got kids?
No, not yet.
Okay, so that's a whole nother, when you start watching like Frozen 2, like for the 5th time, you're just like, you know what? There's actually some gems in these things, storytelling gems. Yeah. And you realize like, wow, the more simpler, if a 8-year-old, 6-year-old can take that message, that's actually a craft. Yeah. And okay, be it this huge company that is Disney with like unlimited resources, great. You can still, I think, apply it to your process where you're like, well, how could I just make her take this message? Yeah. Kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down. That's not the right word, but like, how can I simplify something, whether it be a joke, or like a message, a campaign, whatever, so that this 6-year-old can take that and walk away with it and tell her friends about it. And I think watching, I'm saying this biased because I'm a dad, 2 young girls, right? I watch what they watch a lot of the times, and I see. Don't even get me started on Blippi. That's something, y'all.
Oh,
Blippi. Oh,
so I have a niece.
Okay, so you know Blippi.
So I know Blippi. I know Miss Rachel. I know.
Okay.
Coco Melon.
Okay,
Peppa
so
Pig.
you there, you're right there with us. Yeah. But when you turn on that brain again, that lens of like, how would I do it? Yeah. Or let me take notes. I think it becomes bearable. Yeah. You get over Blippi's annoying laugh. Yeah. And you're like,
okay, what's the message?
I see how you set that up.
Yeah.
I see how you deliver.
Yeah. I
see that payback. I see that call to action. I see that hook. And hey, they're doing it well. Look at how big they are. We're talking about them now. So, I just the blessing and the curse of creating it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the hats is the writing, which I'd like to follow, but everything else in between, like directing, like gathering props for everyone.
Oh man.
What else is there? Editing, the management of time, like everyone's time, like making sure everybody's set to go, available. Basically everything in between. It's just like
literally everything.
Yeah.
Because you was like the point. You and Russ were kind of my point of contacts, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Obviously, like, because what happened on that date was cool to see all you guys come together. And I know you guys, we were kind of talking about it earlier too, where now you're a manager too. Like, that's
I think
another hat.
one
Let
I'd
me
like
put
to
another
drop.
hat. You know what I
That's
mean?
one I want to drop. Like,
Damn, like I know this guy's gonna be 5 minutes late. How am I gonna tell him 9 o'clock instead of 9:30? You know what I mean? But like the thing is about decisions is it takes energy.
Yeah.
And it's energy that you would want to be spending on the punch, these other things, right?
Yep.
But we're always kind of max. We're always running at max,
Yeah.
especially here where we live, cost of living, all of that. Like, I don't know any one person who does one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, take that back. There's some, but like you have a lot more friends who do X,
Yeah.
Y, Z,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're kind of in that environment where you do what? X, Y. It's just like, what are
Yeah.
you? Oh, black, Japanese. What, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I expect one hand at least of things that you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like we're kind of bred up. We're bred for this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you could delegate some of these things. But on that note, there are like, what apps do you use? I'm a techie guy. I like stuff. But
For like the short edits, like for Instagram Reels and stuff like that, I use InShot. I
Okay.
think. And that's
InShot.
just like super.
Yeah.
I've gotten like a 5 million viewed video off of editing on InShot, and it took me 30 seconds just to edit it.
Preach. Did you hear that? Listen to it again. Rewind it. Play it back. You don't need the biggest, baddest editing thing out there. InShot, 30 seconds, 5 million views.
5 million views.
Right?
Yeah.
How long did it take to shoot that one?
Probably a minute to shoot. So it was a stitch with another video. You've seen the videos where like the
The reaction videos?
the video where the hand just comes out of nowhere. And it's
Oh, yeah.
just, like, choked. So my
Hey, by the way, the rock one,
Oh.
the boulder.
that one.
How much is that?
That honestly took like 2 minutes to film just to make sure I got that, because I knew I had to come out from a space like in
Right.
edit in post. I would have to like cut myself out.
Yeah.
Because it was green screen.
Yeah.
So that was like 2 minutes, and then editing wise was another like 5 minutes just to get the
Bruh.
green screen in. And then that one's kind of blowing up too as well.
Nah.
Yeah.
Bruh, I mean, a lot of them, I'm like literally laughing out loud. But then that one.
And then with the news afterwards, like cuts to the news.
No, I guys, hey, see, props, because, okay, screenwriter, to me, it's like being the curious, observant thinker that I am. Like, screen is kind of obvious.
Yeah.
There's a visual element to it. It's visual storytelling.
Mm.
Writer, to me, that's like the productive act of filling that screen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Be it whatever genre it is, right?
Yeah.
Screen, writer, visual, and also I would say like writer, I think author, I think authentic. So it's like be authentic on screen is one way I kind of break down that word, screenwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I feel like that one is authentic in a number of ways, and authentic is kind of overused, right? But it's specific to Hawaii.
Yeah.
It was on Hawaii news.
Yeah, yeah.
Timely too, right? Because
Yeah.
time is of the essence with
You got
all these
pump
skits.
it off, yeah.
And so 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I hear these things like, bro, that's also authentic to the current day, 2023 skit, Instagram, influencer, social media game, because I would have had those same numbers, but with hours.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours to shoot, 5 hours to edit. That's kind of normal where I'm coming from,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But now that's the truth of what it is today. You can do it here. And the fact that you think of it the same way as the way I would think of it, or another videographer would think of it, is like, you're thinking ahead. I know I'm going to need a green screen. I know I'm going to need to block this. I know I'm going to need to cut this out. So you're thinking before you shoot it.
Yep.
You're shooting for the edit. These things are things we do. But then 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then the kind of impact it had, and like how I feel like it was such, I mean, it was funny. That's a given.
Yeah.
But then the way you piece it up
Just
with
everything, when you look at the background.
beginning and end, like you didn't just stop after you came out.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? You made it so it's like, it could have ended. It could have. Some people would.
Yeah.
But then it
Take
was a
an inch
nice,
further, yeah.
it was a nice, that was like a news story, which
Yeah.
is how all of us saw that story.
Yeah.
But then you injected your part into it in a timely way, in a very efficient way as far as like editing, shooting.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it has the traction it has. As far as me, like don't let me be like, I'm not a guru. I'm actually looking to ask you a lot of questions about that kind of stuff today.
Yeah.
But that's how I took it. I was like, man, this guy, yeah, that's a homer.
No.
You know, that's like straight up. Yeah. I guess one way that leads into like, how do you measure, I don't want to say success, but like, how do you measure what their next action should be? Like, I should do more of that or do less of that?
You honestly, so something I looked at was, what are people who are getting millions of views doing?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just for relevancy purposes, like, because we can do the stuff that we're passionate about, but relevancy wise, like if I want a video to pop off, I'm gonna look at somebody else that's doing the same thing, and I'm gonna say, okay, how can I do something similar but make it a niche to like Hawaii or something like that? So that one, I didn't know if it was gonna pop off or not. Like, and that's the hardest thing about social.
Thinking about.
It's the hardest thing about social media, because you don't, and you can talk. I mean, talk to the guys about this too. But you could spend like 2-3 hours shooting something, and then another 2-3 hours editing it, and then another 30 minutes like setting up a schedule on how to post, and then working with everybody on doing that. So altogether, you're in about like 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And you think it's the best thing ever. Like, this is the one that's going to pop off. This is the one that's going to get me noticed by so-and-so. I'm going to get, on the Ellen show or whatever, like, and then you post it and silence is nothing. And it's just, but I put the time in, I did the work. And this is like a TV show almost. It's like a 3-minute thing where you're doing the same thing that you did in the small skits, but you're just prolonging it, But nowadays, everybody's just like, get to the punch.
So on that note, there's a lot of questions I want to ask based off of that right there. And, thank you for being so open and like sharing this process. This is like the thing that I really wanted to get into selfishly, but I know a lot of other creators are just leaning in right now too, listening, because this part of the process isn't so often like on the forefront. Mm-hmm. We see the finished piece, right?
Yeah.
But the ability to ask questions and stuff. So thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. So that that response you just had sparked a few questions. One, how do you scale short to medium, short to long, reverse, long to short? Like, for example, you see a movie and you're like, damn, I love that story, but it was over 2 hours. How can I make it in 2 minutes? Mm-hmm. How can I make it into 20 seconds? So how do you, one, change the scale of time without losing the essence of a story or a punch? Two, what platform, specifically, since I saw your stuff first on Instagram, what platforms do you prefer and why?
So in regards to the first one, time-wise, so you have to tell a story in, I would say, 30 seconds. You got, like, people's attention spans on social media are so quick, and it's kind of been embedded into us. Like, it's just like this right here the whole time. Just
you're fighting the thumb, right?
So, yeah, exactly. That's exactly
the thumb
what
war.
You're doing. Yeah, and you're just looking for that thumb way, just to pop, and then that's it. But so I would say 30 seconds. A minute is like kind of pushing it a little bit. Even 15 seconds.
Okay.
So you're looking at a time where it's like, I got to tell a story within a minute. Now I'm down to 30 seconds or 15 seconds. That's my thing, because that's what's gonna get people to watch it more. If it's shorter, it's better. So 15, 30 seconds. And then now you have to say, how the hell am I supposed to like tell a joke in that amount of time?
Right.
So you have to, right off the bat, catch them, like grab them basically, and then hit the punch real quick.
It's almost like it's harder, as we know, and all of us creatives know, it's harder to reduce than it is to add.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to just hit record and get everything right.
Yeah.
It's harder to put that story into 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's harder to reduce a hook to 3 seconds, right? So like what I would say, like, what methods do you use then? Is it simply like, let me just throw it and see if it sticks? Or is there something more methodic to it where you're like I just heard now, 15 seconds is the time frame. Okay, so I know I'm going to fit everything in 15 seconds, for example.
Yeah.
But then what else as far as like, okay, you break it down. There's a hook and a punch. All right. Do you then break down a hook to a seconds? Or because we're screenwriters and we're thinking of the visual story, not just straight dialogue, are you thinking also of visual? So like screenwriting, I know, is a lot to do with also like when I've read, and I'm not as well versed as a lot of people, but like when I've read certain what do you call it? The scripts, screenplays, right? I realize how easy it is to visualize it based off words. So when I'm looking at words, lines on a paper, it's so easy to visualize because they're naming things like woman clutches purse with 2 hands across her chest, steps one side to her right in the corner of the elevator. Man then turns to her. It's almost like me. I feel like when I was doing weddings and I would be like sunset with the bride and groom, and the way I directed was very much like, you're a doll and I'm like Geppetto.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, move your right elbow a little bit further away from your hip, create a little space between your right arm and your body. Hold the bouquet so it's facing. I'm like trying to move you with my words. It almost feels like the opposite with the screenplay, where it's like the words are there in that same fashion to produce the imagery.
Yeah.
So like, is that part of your process when you're like, okay, I know I'm going to start, for example, with the rock, with the boulder one, right? You had a lot to work with already. It's going to be this news footage.
Yeah.
But then you're thinking, I need to get revealed out of this thing. Man steps out of bathroom dressed in with toilet paper or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, how much of that goes into visually? What kind of visual cues help you write a funny script?
I grew up on like Tommy Boy. I don't know if you watched
Tommy Boy?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Tommy Boy. Yeah. Chris Farley. And just all his movies and stuff. And it wasn't even the storyline that, like, as a kid, you don't listen to the story. You just look up when he's falling down the hill, or if he rips his jacket, fat guy in a little coat, kind of action, and that's just so funny to you, because it's just pure stupidity. And that is what, like, what can I do that's just going to be pure stupidity? I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, to be honest.
Okay. hey, I just figured it out. Yeah.
I watch the video, I see the news outlet, and I watch it on my phone. I'm just like, and I see that open door. I'm like,
that's right.
That would be funny if like someone was in the bathroom, and I just think it, it's like a split second thought. And I was like, it would be funny if somebody was on the toilet. That's like the door that goes to the bathroom. And it just rolled through. And that was the idea right there. I didn't have to write it down. I didn't have to script it out. Nothing. It's just, that was the idea. And once I caught that idea, I grabbed the green screen because I knew I had to green screen myself in. And then I just rode with it. And then I was like, that's not enough though. Because like, you need to obviously interview the person because in the real video the family is interviewed, and I was like, and I'm looking at on I think it was Hawaiian News Now or KHON2, and all they had was the logo, like KHON2 logo, and I was like, that seems official. Grabbed the PNG file, put it on, and I was like, that looks legit, and I'm just gonna use the B-roll that they used in the B-roll.
Yeah,
that was it. There's no plan to it, really.
I get it. There's that, like some rappers don't even write their lyrics. Yeah. They're just like, put me in the booth, let me listen.
Yeah.
Give me 10 minutes. All right, let's go. So there's that, and a lot of I mean, as I ask that question, there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily plan either. And I think a lot of it comes from simple like repetitions.
Yeah.
Simply doing it so much.
It's a muscle.
It's almost like, I don't want to say autopilot, but close to it.
Yeah.
And you can still perform at a certain level. You can still prove that you're proficient at a certain level on autopilot.
Yeah.
And then you get the little sparks like, oh,
Yep.
you know what? Let's do the interview piece at the end, right?
Yeah.
Let's throw that in. And then you can do it. And to your point of like having, like, you just want to focus on the punch.
Yeah.
I think the tools that are now out there, and it's getting scary, right? We get into the whole AI conversation.
Yeah.
I use a lot of AI now
Yeah.
in ways that I didn't think about. But really, AI is just another word for software.
Yeah.
It's just another software, another tool. And I think the tools have made available to us, not just InShot, CapCut. I like both of those apps. I have Final Cut Pro. That's what I kind of cut my teeth on. I've used Premiere. I've used DaVinci. I almost jumped the fence straight up to DaVinci a couple years ago during COVID. That was kind of my pandemic year. Like, what should I do new? And I was like, oh, I want to learn how to color grade. And I was like, what's DaVinci? I see it for what it can do. But I'm almost like, I don't need that though, because the tools that are coming out that allow me to move at this speed, that kind of take off sort of some of the I can take off some of the hats from using these tools. It's getting to a point where if I just say, okay, in 5 years, 10 years, what's going to happen? Like, it's so personal for me thinking about my kids, right?
Yeah.
When they graduate high school, for example, bro, what took 2 minutes to shoot, 5 minutes to edit, to them, it might take 5 seconds and a voice command.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think there's this, I don't know if you know, I'm curious to hear like your favorite movies. Let's get into that too, by the way. But like one of mine is The Never Ending Story. What was it, 19? I think it was shot in 79, but released 84, something like that. The Never Ending Story. And I tried to get my girls to watch it.
Yeah.
They weren't having it. They dipped like the first scene. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to just kind of get nostalgic. And you start off with The Nothing.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. The Nothing.
Yeah.
But I think it's really symbolic of like, there is something in our environment, and speaking of motivation, character, world development, all that stuff, there's a shared fear amongst all of us that actually kind of galvanizes us. You live in that side of the road, I live on this side of the road, but we're both looking at this thing we have to address. The nothing. And I'm like, well, today it's kind of like software. We're all like looking at it. We can't deny it. It's already taken effect. And it's kind of galvanizing us creators like, oh, what are we going to do? Because I don't think what we do, even all this stuff we were just talking about, like, this is going to be outdated sooner than I probably think.
Yeah.
The ways that we create, share and stuff, there's like the nothing coming
Yeah.
where it's not going to be relevant.
Yeah.
And so it's like this balance of, dang, all right, it's a little bit of fear, but for me, I'm a little bit more of an optimist, like utopian future versus dystopian, right? So I embrace it, I lean into it, and I'm like, I got to use it as much as I can now to stay ahead of the curve. But it's already here.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that you were able to make that so quickly kind of speaks to that. It would have taken so much longer before.
Like I said, I don't know what I'm doing half the time, to be honest. Like, I can read the books and watch the YouTube videos, but I think as long as you have a good, funny thought, that's like 90% of it.
Is that something you can practice though? Funniness?
Yeah.
Humor? Can you practice that?
Yeah. I practiced it in elementary school, and I think that's how I got by.
How did you practice?
I'll just do stupid things, I'd make stupid faces. I'd like cross my eyes, and then I think that's where I caught on being like trying to be the funny person, because I get a reaction out of people,
So if I asked you a fifth grade teacher, what was Kulani like?
Probably a crackhead, to be honest. Fifth grade.
And what, that was Kalihi?
That was Kalihi. Those were a couple of my elementary school. Yeah.
Represent. No, okay, I think when we're kids, that's when it becomes obvious who's the funny guy.
Yeah.
And for especially for men,
Yeah.
for guys, it's important.
Yeah.
Who's a funny guy?
In 5th grade, actually, they had a thing like class comedian. They're choosing like all these roles, like who's Mr. Popular or athlete, and then class comedian came up. I lost to George Martin, and I went to George Martin in elementary school. My guy, Freaking George, and I went to high school with him at Damien. So,
How did he beat you out?
I don't know. I guess he was just funnier. I don't know.
This guy, we got George. Comment below. What was your secret? Well, it was probably like a vote thing, though.
It was a voting thing. Oh, no, this is how he won. It was in odd number.
Oh.
I think there was like 23 kids in class. So half of the votes went to him, half of the votes went to me. It was down to Jenica Baldonado.
Oh.
And I think, Jenica, you might have had a crush on George. So that vote was swayed. And I was like a pale, chubby, kid. They didn't see me as like a Polynesian kid. They just saw me as the pale, chubby white kid in class. But yeah, I wasn't getting that.
Hey, kids are cruel.
Kids are cool, bro.
What?
I have stories about that.
You know what's funny is like you say, oh, the pale, chubby white kid, but you're Polynesian too, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny how I have a friend, Fred. Shout out to Fred. We call him Holly Fred. To your point, Kapolei, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh yeah, Holly Fred, I know him. But he was Chinese and white.
Mm.
But they picked the whites. It's funny how people choose. Oh, Holly Fred.
Yeah.
Bro, he's just as much Chinese.
Yeah.
Me, I could be both.
Yeah.
I could be the black guy hanging out with the black people. People think, oh, you eat military discount, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I got the Japanese name.
Yeah.
You see my mom, Japanese. So I get that part.
Yeah.
It's funny how in Hawaii, because for Fred, perfect like case study. In Hawaii, he grew up as Holly Fred. When after high school, he moved to LA. Yeah. And what? He was
Chinese Fred.
Asian Fred.
Asian Fred.
Same Fred.
Yeah.
Different place.
Wasn't it? I remember in elementary school, 3rd grade, we were talking about like the Hawaiian history, 3rd or 4th grade, and they were talking about Hawaiian history, the overthrow, like how the white people came in,
Yeah, history.
And they sit and they're like, "Oh, who here in class is Hawaiian?" And I knew I'm Hawaiian. I raised my hand, and then all the other like these Filipino students, look at me and they're like, "Put your hand down, Kulani." And I was like, well, but I am Hawaiian. And
what's my name? Tell them.
Yeah, exactly. Did you not?
Well, you think my parents just fell in love with the street names and all that over here?
Yeah, no. That was my first taste of like, I'm different. Like,
But when you went to Utah.
Yoha.
Sorry, don't get mad at me. Because I know there's a lot of people who frequent both Hawaii and Utah, right?
Yeah.
So how was that experience over there? Because I went kind of neighboring-ish. I went to Oregon.
So
but,
you might know the vibe.
But I mean, curious to hear your experience.
That was so being like a light-skinned Polynesian. I'm white people don't take me in, and then Polynesian people do take me in, but they're a little skeptical. Skeptical about what's happening here. But I remember when we first moved. We moved in 2017 to Utah, and that was just to try it out. And we had family there, and we were just trying to see what would happen. I think it was like the first week, all we saw was just white people. And I'm not trying to be like, well,
it's facts.
White people.
It's observational facts.
Yeah, observational facts.
Yeah.
And then it's just, and then we go to a Costco and we see our first Polynesian person in a week, and we're like, oh my, Polynesian person. So we're like, okay, we're gonna we pushing our cart down the aisle, and then we kind of lock eyes, and we're so proud to see another Polynesian person. We're like, You know, the whole.
Yeah. Oh, black people got it too.
Right.
So,
But
brother,
the weird thing was, like, the Polynesian person was like,
oh,
and
no.
so it's, man, it's, I don't know. It just, I was definitely accepted by a lot of Polynesian people up there. That's how this whole thing started. This whole content creating thing started. It was
Really?
in Utah, yeah.
It started up there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I tried Vine when it first came out, and I wasn't as popular on Vine, but the journey really started in Utah. Yeah.
That's funny because you say you see some that to me sounds like a skit waiting to happen too. I'm sure there is a skit out there like that. Key and Peele, by the way, you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
We got to get into like who you like as comedians, your movies and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
Key and Peele, one of their skits,
Love Kim Peele.
and they're perfectly positioned. They're like mixed like us, so they can play. I can be this or that.
Yeah.
And one of the skits is basically how both of them meet on a corner. Well, they're not there to meet. They're strangers. Strangers kind of get close enough to each other on the corner, on like a street, on a sidewalk, and they can overhear each other, and they're both on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But they just increasingly up their black hoodness,
Oh.
you know, because they know like, oh,
Yeah,
another
yeah.
black dude on his phone right here. You can hear me. Yeah. So, and then like at the end, it's a reveal where they're both like faking the funk.
Yeah.
But that hit me hard
Mm-hmm.
because I know what it's like to feel like I gotta jump into the norm.
Yeah.
What's especially in Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing. It sounded like a survival story when you're like, it's been 1 week. You know?
1 week since I've seen a Polynesian person.
And then you see them, and there's all this anticipation. Yes, brother, what's up? And then
And-
to get like dumped.
And you don't even know them.
Like, so many of us feel like, I think that's what makes something funny is when you relate, and then there's a twist.
Yeah.
You relate, you buy and you wait for it, and then it's like not predictable. Even if it's predictable, like the Key and Peele one that I just referenced, it was kind of predictable because we know they're always going to play that punch.
Yeah.
But it was still enjoyable, and I liked
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I watch it every now and then when I see it pop up on YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
so who's your like top 5 comedians? Like, doesn't have to be ranked, but like just off the top. Chris Farley.
Chris Farley is definitely top ranked. He's like idol. Dang, top 5. I'm sure.
Could be current or past.
What is it? Bill Burr.
Oh, he's a good one.
I love Bill Burr.
Yeah. The Philly rant.
Yeah.
All of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bill Burr, man. He just tells it like it is, and he's unapologetic, which he should be because everything is a joke. So, I can probably give top 3.
Just
Dang. Comics. Yeah, I'll just go with those 2 for now, and
Okay.
if I come up with any others,
just shout them out. Or what about like, do you do a lot of Netflixing? Like you watch comedy specials, docuseries?
Oh, Dave Chappelle, definitely. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, it's the GOAT.
Dave, if you're watching, my bad. Yeah, Dave Chappelle, most definitely. I'll just watch him all day long, and me and my wife will just crack up. It's the same thing. It's like, well, he just says what he says, and he's unapologetic.
Would you? So I see a lot of, I would say, diversity in those 3. Chris Farley, what was the second one you said?
Bill Burr,
Bill Burr, and Dave Chappelle.
Jack Black. Sorry.
Hey, yeah.
Before I
Hey,
forget.
see, there's another like angle to this because like he's talented too. Like as a musician, you hear something like, "Damn, that was dope."
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you put out a record, almost like Reggie Watts, almost
Ooh,
where I'm like, I feel I shouldn't give you one label.
yeah.
I tend to try and stay away from labels, but like this dude is more than a musician.
Yeah.
Jack Black is more than a comedian.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that goes into any top 5 conversation. Like we all have top 5s, whatever, videographer, cinematographer, whatever, musician, rapper. Like I think it's really just a way to have a conversation. But what I always lean or like fall back to is
the impact that somebody's had on the industry.
Yeah.
I can't disregard that. So even if, let's say, pound for pound, joke for joke, someone might have the edge, but if you have the kind of impact to the game that someone else didn't have, you got to put that into the equation.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, Dave Chappelle, who's had that kind of impact, not just on like network level, but also deals. Like people talk about his deals. People talk about LeBron James deals. People talk about Cristiano Ronaldo's deals. If you're that kind of person, that has something to say about what you do as well.
Yeah.
Besides your skill, besides your craft. So in those 4 people, I'm like, there's a lot of pieces of comedy in those 4 comedians, to label them, that those 4 people represent.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I mean, Dave Chappelle, I remember watching Killing Him Softly. That was the first like special I watched. This is like after the Half Baked and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Just like, oh, he's that guy.
Yeah.
And then that kind of put me onto the whole stand-up format.
Yeah.
Which I gotta ask you, as someone who's like, oh, the funny guy. Do you feel like stand-up something that you ever want to do, or like you just like, I'm not even touching that?
That's the whole, like, I give stand-up comedians I put them on a pedestal because that is a whole different ball game. Like, I tried doing stand-up a few times. This is probably back in like 2015, and bless my wife, she like was there for all of it. It was bad. It was not good at all. I remember just like freezing up on stage. And I told myself, nope, not going to do that again. I did it like 3 or 4 times. It was like open mic nights and stuff like that. And I had things planned in my head, but once I got up on stage, it just disappeared. And I would remember chunks of it, and I would just like say things, and it was just bad all around. It wasn't at all how it is today, because I feel like back then it was kind of weird. But I know Jose Dynamite, he's kind of taking the reins, for a while he's taken the reins, and he's been killing it, and he's just been putting like Hawaii stand-up comedians on the map. So
Stand-up.
yeah. It's like being able to edit is so much free, it's so much freer.
Yeah.
So I got the joke in mind, I know the punch, and then I act it out. And if I didn't like it, I'll do another bit, and then I'll do it maybe a 3rd time, and then I'll go to the editing, and then in post, I'll just be like, okay, now I can fit that there, I can fit this here, and perfect,
I feel like because of the times and technology that's made available to us, now what you do is another branch of comedy. It's kind of like I have the conversation about hip hop, and like, it's not what it used to. Of course, it's not what it used to be. It's not 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
It's not 90s tech.
Yeah.
And we can't expect that. So I feel like now, I don't even know what to call it really, but what you do is another branch of comedy, which comes from a lineage that includes stand-up, TV shows like Seinfeld. It's like Seinfeld is a part of what that rock skit that you did, for example, in some way, shape, or form. And that this is part of our collective identity that today is now coming out in these ways.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a new... we've all spent more time than we planned scrolling.
Yeah.
Also funny skits, right?
Yeah.
You're a part of that, like you're a participant as far as creating that kind of stuff for us. And so that is kind of like when I was, 10, 20 years? I don't know when Killing Him Softly came out, but that's kind of the equivalent to back then.
Yeah.
Someone put that together and I soaked it up and was cracking up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it just comes from everybody, everywhere, all at once. Oh shit!
Yeah.
That movie, by the way, was
I haven't watched it yet, but I've been meaning to, and I've heard so many good things. But
I mean, are you like a heady thinker kind of movie?
yeah,
Then
like Inception, like really get into it.
Okay. Hey, one thing that I've been trying to do with this place is actually like movie reviews because I love getting deep. So come through, man. Like when we do it, like I haven't figured out exactly how to get clips integrated that way yet, but I've had these exceptions with my homie Alessandro, who's, shout out to you, you're gonna make it here someday. He's in Kyoto,
So I lived in Japan for 8 years. And at the last like year 8, I met this guy. And I'm like, we were both kind of like man crushing off each other. Like, wait, you live like one street away from where I live in downtown Kyoto, and we both have these like overlapping interests and like, passions that include technology, VR, AR, film, all this stuff. And like, but yeah, I'm throwing up the deuces, homie. But we've kept in touch, and one way we do kind of like connect is through movie reviews. And we went over, actually it was a different Nolan movie. It was Tenet. That's a thinker. Inception obviously is a thinker. Everywhere, damn it, everything everywhere all at once is a thinker. I think there's tell me how you feel on this. Is like, as someone with a critical eye, that almost makes it unenjoyable. Oh, Saxon. Oh, Saxon. I know he's interviewing Saxon. Shout out Saxon.
Saxon.
So with a critical eyes, how like I kind of look at a movie like it require enough of my mental capacity that I'm kind of like, well, I'm very much engaged, but I'm not overworked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so striking that balance is a hard thing because it depends on the person, it depends on the movie, even the time of day. Again, I'm trying to squeeze in a movie between this and that. You know, that all kind of plays a part. But how much do I have to think that's not overthinking? Like a good workout. Yeah. That's how I feel a movie. I come out of the gym or a good 5-mile run, something like that. That's how I want to feel. But not like I just ran a marathon. Yeah. And I think Everything Everywhere All at Once hit that balance. Yeah. It required enough of my mental, like, keep up. Yeah. You got to remember that this is, in this world, this is true. And that person is motivated by this. Keep up. Yeah. Kind of had that. Yeah. But it still hit enough of the enjoy, sit back, and just trust the people who made this movie. Trust the actors on screen and just enjoy it. Yeah. It hit that balance for me. Yeah. Nolan sometimes is like, what?
A little bit more critical.
You know, like, damn it. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to Google that real quick. You know? I got you, yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. Or you can act like you're the biggest film buff and be like, no, I got it. And go to YouTube and find like explainer videos, you know? Come back like, oh yeah, well, that's why he was wearing the blue. And did you know that? Like, come on, dog. Yeah. There's 5 Easter eggs. And like, you didn't see that like in real time. But Inception, though. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that fan theory?
Which one is that?
About I forgot that his Leonardo's character's wife, whatever her name is. We'll just call her wife and Leonardo husband. Sorry, because I forgot the names. How dare you, right? But that actually, she, you know the totem, right? Yeah. That's how we can tell if we're still it's dreaming or in the real world. That from the get, or the whole thing is actually a dream. So the reality of coming back to like the real world is actually her. Oh, I'm messing this up now. I feel embarrassed. She had left the real world. That's why she killed herself. Yeah. Because she's like, yo, I can't handle this. I'm out. Yeah. Like, I'm going back to the real world. You need to come too, homie, husband.
She was wanting to jump off. Yeah.
That's why she left. And she actually did make it back to the real world.
But he was stuck.
And there's all the, like, you know, there's an explainer video on YouTube. I was like, yo, it changed. I love going back to a movie, revisiting it with new insight. Yeah. Not necessarily
like a new movie.
Memento level. Yeah. Where I'm like, oh, damn. Again, mental gymnastics. Just let me do enough. Yeah. Well, it's not a marathon.
It's like, keep me in it, but not too much.
And
what was that?
Keep me
in it.
Just a tip,
but not.
Just tease.
Keep me in it, but not too much. Harvard scholar here. Idiot.
So that's that. You think you said it earlier? Like, I just think of the most ridiculous thing, the most stupid thing, or whatever. Like,
if falling down with my pants off is funny, then it's gonna be funny to other people, you know.
Is that? I get why you say Chris Farley, because I get a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's cemented himself in movies, comedy, culture, American. How much else do you look outside of America for comedy, inspiration, just content, movies?
My mom's from New Zealand, so we watch like New Zealand content every now and then. Not like social media content, but like movies or. Man, it's such a hybrid comedy almost, to me at least, in my opinion. It's like, but it's so funny and it's so blunt and it's so like straightforward and some it might come off as like a little rude, but I don't know how to explain it really. But
so do you frequent New Zealand?
Yeah, we try to go every like 3-4 years. Ever since I was in elementary school, we've been going like every three years, I think.
And well, here's the thing, right? Like, that's interesting. You go to that island archipelago country in the southern hemisphere, and I go to that island archipelago country in the northern hemisphere on that side of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Home base is in the middle. And I realize for me, the hardest part of language acquisition for me, I learned Japanese as an adult. I learned it in Oregon, got a minor in Japanese, and then I landed in Japan, hit the ground running. I had a private tutor once a week, and I had 3 textbooks that I would do like at least 1 or 2 pages in each textbook every day, 6 days a week, if not 7. So I hit the ground running, and I became very, very proficient in the language, reading, writing, speaking, listening, both passive and active parts of language acquisition. I got to a point where I could look around and I just felt comfortable. I could interact with my boss is at the ministry, well, not the Ministry of Education, but like the Board of Education in where I lived. I could be a liaison between other like non-Japanese speaking foreigners who are there and the local Japanese I could speak with. I was living in an apartment building. Below me, I had like 5 girls from China. They're working in a factory in the neighborhood, but our common language is Japanese. So interesting, like I'm speaking to Chinese people in Japanese because that's our common ground. So like, I say that to say that I became very proficient in a language. And the hardest part of language acquisition is comedy, is humor.
Man.
Because you cannot separate language from culture.
Yeah.
So you learn one, you have to learn the other. In Hawaii, we're blessed because we have so much cultures that we pick up oftentimes food names, locations, street names, family names, because it's on the store, whatever. So we have that level of familiarity just growing up here.
Yeah.
We also have the luxury of being exposed to these cultures.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to kind of make jokes, I think. Laugh, share laughs.
Yeah.
There's a universal ones like you mentioned, like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Like somebody falling down or like big body, small jacket.
Yeah.
Like those things transcend language, right? Which I feel like that's a hack to actually communicating too.
Yeah.
I found if I'm in a group in Japan, right, I'm still like learning. I could resort to that kind of comedy, a physical comedy. If you have eyes and ears, we can communicate. Body language comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hard part is that witty hook punch, setup punch in that language, because what you're doing is you're essentially breaking the rules. So I spent all this time learning the rules that is a language, grammar, vocabulary, right? Only to then learn how to break them or manipulate or sort of cheat in certain ways. And that becomes the basis for these moments that I found like, even today is the hardest part is like, I was just telling you, my family in-laws were visiting. Making someone laugh is actually, if you can do that in a language, then I feel like, all right, you understand in a way that tests can't reflect. Test scores can't reflect.
Yeah.
And it's even harder when you're in a group, because one-on-one like this, you're all in listening to me.
Yeah.
I got your attention. That's mine. And you'll even make concessions to accommodate for me because it's just us.
Yeah.
But if there's 3 of your homies and I was a new one and now it's a group thing, you guys have inside jokes. You guys have slang. You guys have things like, things that I don't. I'm the outsider. If I can then make this group laugh, that to me is worth more than like my test score.
Yeah.
Even better if I can laugh at the same time when someone else makes a joke and then we all caught it at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the hardest. Still is the hard part for me.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like curious about your international, how comedy transcends borders and stuff. Because it is, for me personally, the hardest part of language acquisition.
Yeah.
Making a joke, breaking a rule in a way that's not, and that's here in Hawaii, we grew up with, everybody had like Kalihi. Okay, Kalihi. I know you get classmates' parents who tease their accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as a language learner myself, I know I have an accent. So we have to kind of just put that on the table. I have an accent and I make mistakes. The mistakes I make, although they might be grammatical, right? If I can still make mistakes, but in a way that is funny, that is a different level of proficiency.
Yeah.
Kind of like cultural, I would say like acquisition. Language acquisition, yeah, but cultural acquisition. That conversation, for me, my experience is like, that's one thing that, even though I did there's like 5 levels of tests in Japan, N5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 is like the highest. In my second year, I passed N1. So that's like the highest level of like standardized tests.
Yeah.
And then from that time, I was like, okay, I'm in a good position. But that was a one hurdle.
Yeah.
That was always there for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just one of those things, it's just gonna take time.
Yeah.
And actually I queued up something I'll show you later, but like Japanese comedy.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's some comedy that is like Chris Farley-ish and that if you can see and hear, you'll laugh. People like body language comedy.
Yeah.
But then there's like, I feel like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, you need to understand one, English language, but more importantly, especially with those two comedians, you need to understand American culture, recent events, a bit of politics, history. You need all of that to feel the punch.
Yeah.
Whereas to some Chris Farley, you don't need any of that.
Yeah, you just fall on a table and
You know?
you're like, oh man, and the big guy just cracked the table there.
I'm thinking about like, something boy?
Tommy Boy?
Tommy Boy, yeah.
Hey, son, quit playing with your dinghy. Yeah, I don't know.
Dave Spade was such a good what you call it? Not co-host, but like counterpart to that kind of comedy.
Yeah.
It's a perfect which actually
it was the yin and yang pretty much.
Is in Japan. I learned the comedy, there is those 2 roles. Actually, I just realized that. There are like those 2 roles in your typical Japanese manzai comedy. One is basically the haphazard, you could say like smart and dumb even, if I just really, really dumb it down.
Yeah, basic dumb.
The smarter guy.
Yeah.
Right? Who's trying to tell the dumber guy, what are you doing? This is how you do it. What? And he just keeps fumbling around, tries this way, laugh, tries this way, laugh, tries this way, laugh. And then at the end, maybe he does it right. And then the smart guy looks dumb.
Yeah.
Type of flipping, like, I learned, wow, I didn't think of it that way, but Dave Spade and Chris Farley was...
They're Japanese.
They're Japanese. Hey, well, I mean, like New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure have you gone to like comedy clubs or like who's the New Zealand bangers on Instagram that I gotta follow?
You gotta Joey Damon. You gotta follow him.
Okay.
Man, I can't remember his name right now. Can I look it up? Is that cool?
Yeah, look it up.
Okay.
Because I want to know too. I like following. There's this British guy. Olima something. I gotta show you that. There's some Japan YouTube channels that I started watching heavy actually during COVID that year. I don't know about Dominican.
Yeah, that's the one. So Joey Damon and then William Waidua. You got W_Crib for him.
Okay.
And then let me look up Joey's.
How would you sort of say they're kind of?
How would I know? You just have to go watch it, man. I don't know how to explain in words, like, or what to compare it to. Joe just got a spot with Comedy Central.
Oh, damn! Shout out to Joe.
Yeah, shout out to Joe. He's doing big things. We talk in the, not like deep conversation, but we talk in the DMs and just give each other praise for what we're doing. And William is just he's killing it. You just gotta go watch the content because it's I don't know how to explain it in words, to be honest. But those two guys in New Zealand are my top. And then you got Tofinga, of course, from Laughing with Samoans. He's a little bit more old school, but man, I've been following it for a long time, since Laughing with Samoans. So
I'm familiar with that. Laughing with Samoans.
yeah. So Tofinga, man, he's still killing it. I'm not trying to say you're older.
I know. Hey, respect your elders. Well, because when I was in Oregon, that's when I was shout out to all the Polynesians in the Pacific Northwest, by the way.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah.
And when I plugged in over there, that's when I started watching these clips.
Yeah.
YouTube wasn't as big as it is today, but there was still content that you could consume out there.
Yeah.
Here's one not conundrum, but one question that you would be in a position to answer or provide insight is, how much do you play the Hawaii card or Polynesian card?
In the beginning, so when I first started, I played it hard, like, because that's what I know. That's my core, you know. That's what I know what's funny in Hawaii, and I know what's going on in Hawaii. So, in the beginning, you would, like, put it out there real hard. Excuse me. Yeah. I think as time went on, I don't really do like the whole swearing thing, or like I don't get too deep into it. Like I try to keep it pretty clean, which, I mean, that's perfectly fine for anybody who does like the, you know, profanity or
sex jokes or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of dive into it a little bit, but not too much to where it's like that's who I am, you know. So I noticed that the people that do that type of comedy do get more love from Hawaii, because there are more people that can latch onto that, which is that's what they like, you know. I'm not trying to be like, no, they should like me for what I do. But so in the beginning I did Hawaii real hard, and to sometime like I want to say like 2019 or 2021, between that time is when I like came to the decision that I wanted to do comedy that transcended Hawaii, that was relatable to, like, kind of like how we were talking about just previously. Everyone can relate to it, not just Hawaii people. It's good for the Hawaii content, because if there are people who aren't from Hawaii that are watching it, then they get a little taste of what Hawaii comedy is. Yeah. But I wanted to do stuff that was, what's the word? Central to, that everybody could understand, you know.
I mean, I'm not asking in a way that like I'm favoring one side or the other, because I see success, quote unquote success, on both sides, right? Where
yeah.
You lean into Hawaii, but also you almost consciously do not use Hawaii in that way. And I think a lot of people, not just comedians, not just influencers, but businesses as well.
Yeah.
You know, the name Hawaii can be seen as a commodity, and then leveraged as such to whatever ends, whatever goals that person has.
Yeah.
And so if it's growth on social media, if it's business entering a new market, labeling a product, whatever it is, like, there is power in the word Hawaii. And there's both sides of that, because then some people are going to say, hey, you're misrepresenting, culture vulture, all the things that we've seen. If you just like Google Hawaii and like, I don't want to say like not debate, but it's one of those topics that is very polarizing. It carries a lot of content behind it that if you did a Google search, a lot of what will come up, especially in news, could be polarizing, right? But it's also something so special that like people who are familiar with it, like who are born and raised here, like it's part of our identity, and we want to represent it on a world stage.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of fight internally going on between, should I use it? Should I not? And I know that as both of us have experience outside of Hawaii, we know we've experienced the kind of weight and gravity that comes with using the word and identifying with it, and then how to use that in your personal life or business life and such. So it's just one of those questions I just like, man, you would probably have some really good insight on that, especially when we're talking about something funny and relatable, like how I said, Dave Chappelle. To understand and laugh at Dave Chappelle, you really need to understand America, right? So like you can see Dave Chappelle, who's labeled the GOAT, he is very much leaning into his cultural identity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's paved the way and made so much impact. So I get it. It's valid to lean into your cultural identity. Hawaii is one of those real unique ones, not just because of our history, right?
Yeah.
But then also like the people that come out of this beautiful place.
Yeah.
Are so like there's so much variety, diversity coming out of this place, the people who can represent this place, that it's I mean, we represent a piece of it.
Yeah.
And especially when we go abroad. So broad question, I know it could get really deep, and like I'm sure there's debate somewhere about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like having that Hawaii badge without having it, I think you can also represent Hawaii in how you act.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
What percentage of, would you say, like your content is like tied to understanding Hawaii culture?
Probably like 15%, if I'm being completely honest. Hawaii, like the culture, Hawaiian culture, but see, there's a difference.
I know.
So Hawaiian culture, and then Hawaii culture. Hawaii being just the place, the people in Hawaii.
Yes.
So Hawaii culture, I put that on probably like 70%, and then Hawaiian culture is probably like 15%.
Gotcha. There is a difference. Glad you made that clear. There is a very
Hawaii culture is just the people that live within Hawaii and what they can relate to, like the potholes or the government or the tourists, or like all that stuff. Hawaiian culture, where I'm putting like the overthrow on, or like trying to educate through that way, I'd say probably 15-20% on that.
No, as people ask me when I am not here, oh, so you're Hawaiian. I hear people, oh yeah, my Hawaiian friend. I'm like, like, am I gonna go into this right now? You know what I mean? Like, we're meeting up to go out, and like, is this the time and place to go into, like?
And it would be so insignificant to be like, actually, I'm not. And then what does that mean to them? It doesn't mean nothing.
Okay, maybe there's no room in my car anymore. Like, you know,
like to,
I bite my tongue, kind of.
Yeah.
And especially when you're trying to do it in another language, like for me, Japanese, trying to explain. Damn, I'm not. First of all, I'm not every black person you see on TV. Yeah. Second of all, you hear Hawaii, I'm like, oh man, that's a whole nother history channel lesson. Yeah. We just want to try to get this ramen. You know what I mean? So it's like a time and a place.
Like you want to educate. But,
I do want.
But what does that do for them? Like
the timing of the education. Yeah. The dosage as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like let me just plant this seed real quick. Yeah. But we're gonna have to come back and nurture this seed. Yeah. I'm just plant it right now because you teed me up. I need to.
And then you go into it later on, like, yo, by the way, I'm not Hawaiian, right? I am from Hawaii.
Why'd you let us think that? But it's like you didn't let them think that. Somebody just introduced you as Hawaiian. So.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, now I have to explain.
Yeah.
I'm not, but so like, those are two very different things that deserve that kind of like clarification.
Yeah.
Especially for people listening, like, what? What's the difference?
Oh yeah, big time. Just because you moved to Hawaii, like you can be Californian because you live in California, but you're not Hawaiian because you live in Hawaii.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And so, no,
I think that's also a reason why, like, I don't, because there are people who are putting Hawaiian culture on, and I'm just like, okay, they're doing it. Like, I'm not gonna try. And I'm not as well versed in the culture as I'd like to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always afraid, like, if I do make a joke about this, then
is he qualified?
Is it gonna like set somebody off, or is it? And then people ask me questions, and I don't have, like, obviously I do have the friends that do have the answers, and I can lead them to that. But why would I don't know.
It's a lot. It deserves a conversation.
Yeah.
But oftentimes when it comes up, it feels like it's not the time or place.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of platform is perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And but when you're standing in line to order some food, or you're like at a train station, like, I just felt this immense responsibility over my time outside of Hawaii to represent a large community without me being prepared or ready for it.
Yeah.
Whether it be African Americans, whether it be Americans, do you have a gun? Whether Hawaii, so Hawaiians, so tell me about that. I'm like, oh man, damn, I wasn't ready for that. Like, am I ready for this? Like, talk about wearing hats. I'm like, that, I don't know if I should wear that. But now, luckily, I can say, you know what? I was listening to this great podcast you should listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or here, follow this person. To your point, there's people out there who put out a lot about one thing. Yeah. So, all right, let me, hey, you know, here's a good account. Check this out.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, all right, now we can get back to what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, cop out, whatever, but it's just my real life experience. So actually,
leading into that, my skits don't put the culture on, like Polynesian culture, Hawaiian culture, on too much, because I feel like that's not my place as a comedian. I know I did something with Mauna Kea when that was all popping off and stuff, and that was more so to address, like, hey, this is what's going on, go figure out what's happening, kind of thing, so people can figure that out. So maybe my skits don't, but like I realize within what I've been writing, like screenwriting for like short films or feature films, that's where I'm putting the culture into more so.
Let's dive into that. So that's the outlet.
That's the outlet. That's where I'm telling a story, and I'm letting culture just kind of be sprinkled on top, and people can learn through it in that way. Yeah.
So what is this project?
Or
what can you share about this project?
I've just been working on it since 2020. So since 2020 popped off. Actually, I've been working on this since high school. Like, I had this idea in high school. Man, I don't know what to share and what not to share, because I don't want to like give too much. Yeah. I had an idea in high school, and it was regarding football. And that's always stuck with me, the idea, and it's always gone throughout. And then in 2020, I was already pretty well versed in like comedy skits and stuff, and I knew, like, okay, I must be funny because there's a following, and you know, and so I was like, okay, let me try this out. So I talked to my dad's friend, Steve Kent. He's a writer, and he was telling me to buy the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder.
I've heard, yeah.
It just breaks down screenwriting in such a beautiful way. And I think the main portion for that was, I think it's Blake Snyder's 15 beat sheet. Like, you have to hit a beat like throughout the whole thing. So, anyways, I read the book and I had already written previously, and I was reading through what I had already, and I was like, oh, it matches up to what I wrote already. I just have to finish the damn thing now. And so I wrote probably like half of it in 2020, and then it just died down. Like,
As creative projects do.
yeah,
You just build and build and build.
yeah, and then just recently, probably 2022, is when I started back up, and that was I was writing here and there, and I just couldn't find my way through the story. I knew I had like a beat sheet on what I wanted to hit and where I wanted to go with it, but anyways, it's basically wanting to put Polynesia on the map through football, and I'll just say
Okay,
that.
all right.
And my intention is to pitch it to $7 Productions and hopefully get The Rock on board for it. That is the intention.
So I know, right? We being selective at what you want to share.
Yep.
You don't want to do anything too premature, but football, Hawaii is a background for a football story. And in it, can you tell us a bit about the characters then?
Yeah. Let me just how do I break this down?
Well, I know, like just
Because I'm not trying to
read the
give
whole thing.
too much away without it's copywritten. So oh man. What do we
You know what I mean? Like, what can you share that you plan to share as far as like the campaign, the marketing, release, all of that?
let me sorry, I gotta take a moment to like see what I can and can't, what I should and shouldn't.
Is it a comedy?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's I won't say the name because it's a working title and all that, but it is a sports comedy. And going back to what I said about high school, when I was in high school, and obviously my mom's from New Zealand, I'm Hawaiian Maori, and I would watch like these rugby games going down, and I was like, why don't they ever just lateral the ball like how they do in rugby? You know, why doesn't the receiver have somebody behind him and just like lateral it back, and then like rugby players.
Yeah.
So that was the idea in high school. That was my thing. I was like, somebody should write a movie about that. So it's definitely different from that whole idea, but that has a piece in the movie. The idea is that Hawaii finally gets their first NFL football team, and it follows a bunch of ragtag team of tryout participants who throughout their inaugural season. That was like the worst. I'm like, let me recap on that.
Yeah, read that. Yeah,
Let me
go for it. Go for it.
That was the worst.
No. I could tell, but you're
Because
calculating.
I'm trying to like, calculate it, but
I was just picturing the skit that we did, like the ragtag team. Like,
basically, yeah. So that's pretty much it, like in a nutshell. But how do I explain that for everybody?
That's not.
Not so.
No, I'm not trying to like pressure you or get something out. And I mean, do you have a timeline as far as when you want to pitch it? Like, and that's the thing too. I'm curious. What's the process? I know you explained the process for making a skit, putting it on Instagram, but what's the process for screenwriting, pitching it, getting it,
it's
getting
great.
into theaters? What's that roadmap look like?
I'm still figuring that out. Like,
Okay.
So I've read all the books on how to write. I've read all the books on how to, like, the hero's journey. How to get the hero from there, the climax, and then just like, and then we're out, kind of thing. So I've read all the books on how to write it. I've done how many drafts on completing it. I've sent it to, there's this place called The Blacklist where you can send your screenplay and have it posted on the website, and you can pay for like a professional reader to go through it and just like give you a breakdown. An 8's really good. 8 out of 10 is really good. I got a 7 out of 10 on my first. This is the first thing I've written. So I got a 7 out of 10. I've had people read it. I've gotten feedback, and then I got the pitch deck together, which is just basically a visual of how you see the movie looking, and then it's a breakdown of what the movie is about, the characters in the movie, and then I'm up to right now. I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm trying to pitch it, and there's no books on that.
How to pitch.
Yeah, there's no like on how to. It's basically what I've learned through YouTube and just like asking around. It's about networking, and it's about luck, and it's about having a really good story.
Well, luck favors the prepared, as it sounds like you are. You have something.
It's tough out there. Like, I don't know where to go. So, and especially with nothing underneath my belt. So I don't have anything underneath my belt as a writer.
I assume that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Who are you? Let me see what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I reached out to someone and said, "Did you write anything that I know?" And I was like, "This is the first big thing, you know." Like, and I know it's a good idea because I just know it's a good idea in my heart, and I have the vision for it, and I see it being something that puts not just Hawaii but Polynesia on the map. And man, it's and I'm trying not to let that cloud or hurt me when people are like, oh, like I've talked to people and I've said, okay, I want to really get The Rock on this project, you know, and people said, you're not gonna get him, and I'm just kind of like, why would you say that? Like,
Watch me.
Yeah, watch me. Exactly. Witness me.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing, is just when things just start to just go downhill, and like and it's been recently this week where it's just gone downhill. Like I finished the pitch deck and I came out and I knew it was going to be hard, and when I finished the pitch deck, I was just kind of excited, you know, because I had something that I could hold, that I could show people, and I was just like, okay, now I just got to get it into the hands of A, B, and C, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but it was like, it should be golden because they'll see it and they'll understand it. But I can't get into the hands of A, B, and C. I can't do, or
yet.
Not yet. It's just proving to be harder, and that's part of the journey, right?
Well, yeah.
So
you are the hero in Joseph Campbell's story, right? So, okay, this is Act 2. You got to find that person who's there to help, assist, and aid.
Exactly.
There's going to be a person who's trying to hate, block, distract.
Bunch of
You know what I mean?
just,
but we know there's the montage coming up.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're currently at the cusp of the montage right now, and there are people that are hating. Well, like I said, this past week has just been like one of those weeks where I'm just like, I don't want to do this no more. Like talking to my wife, you know, I was like, I have something that's golden. I have it in my hands. I've worked my butt off to, you know, get it here. But that doesn't, like I posted on my story, nobody owes you anything.
Yeah.
Nobody owes you anything. Like if you think for 1 second that just because you did something amazing for yourself that people need to agree with you, like
you're not entitled to anything.
Exactly. You have to work your butt off for it. So I'm currently at that stage where it's like, okay.
Well, you're at a better stage today than you were last year, than you were when you're in high school.
Yeah.
And as is a lot of these projects that actually carry a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell it carries a lot of emotional weight for you because you've got so much blood, sweat, and tears in this.
Yeah.
And there will be a payoff, right? It's going to, we know what happens with stories. You're literally writing yours as we speak. And thanks for the window into it. There's going to be a payoff. And like, we know whether it's The Rock being like, yo, let's do it. Someone close to The Rock, just putting it in front of him. And or a combination of that plus the insights that you get, the muscles that you've strengthened through doing this, that you can just apply to whatever it is you touch next. All of that, right? Big guy, little jacket. Boom, right? Like you're flexing that muscle, you're learning these things, and all of that can be applied to whatever you do next. I like to think of it like when I'm in that like this week that you're having that you just described, when I'm there, because we all visit that place, for me, a visual is King Midas. And you know what? To be honest, I just know that as like this trope, I know the story of King Midas. Everything he touched turned to gold. And then he touched his like wife or something. She turned to gold. But like, I just think of everything someone touches turning into gold. And so that's what I think of that kind of gets me over the hump. Like, just touch something. Not like that.
Just touch someone.
Just touch someone, something. Well, it's just to say, just reminds you, get busy.
Yeah.
Do an action.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to get caught up here, but like if I actually literally touch the tools of my trade and I just touch it, I know that I'm touching it with 15, 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
And that whatever I do with that, when I touch this computer, turn on, I can get back into it and actually get back to the creating process and actually get over my self-indulgent lows.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, I'm not calling you like a crybaby, but we all have that.
Yeah.
And so one way that I get over it is just saying, all right, just basically touch a tool that I've used, that I use constantly. And a lot of times it's this one.
Yeah.
And then it provides that release, a place to pour out. And a lot of times when I go back and look at that, that's why the gold part, I'm like, damn, actually that pressure that I felt, that stress that I felt, pain, self-doubt that I felt kind of created this little gem that I'm happy I just told myself, just touch one of these tools and it created something.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that like everything you're doing will have its payoff, right? It's just how.
Yeah.
How. And you know what? When you say like there's a lot of people who wave that flag.
Yeah.
Who have the same goal. There's people that my brother introduced me to, I wish I could think of his name right now, but he's a somebody with that, who's waving that flag. Like, let's put Polynesia on the map. They were just, that Jason Momoa thing that just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
He was on that. And my brother's been trying to like, yo, you should connect with him. And when I did, this was like 4 some years ago.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, he introduced me to him. And I was like, yeah, what's up? I didn't know. I didn't have the context at the time. My brother introduced me to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he introduced me. Like, yeah, what's up, brother? Yeah, you can connect. Small talk. Yeah. What do you do? Right? Small talk. Afterwards, when I looked at his Instagram, I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I wish I had the right questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of those. And so I know there's a lot of people who are going to even listen to this and then be like, I'm aligned with that person.
Yeah.
I wear the hat that he don't want to wear.
Yeah.
Make this one phone call, email, text, whatever. I think that's part of the pros. There's pros and cons that we talked about like represent Hawaii.
Yeah.
But one of the pros undoubtedly is when someone else sees that flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
The figurative one.
Yeah.
Someone's waving that flag. They will amass. They will get together.
Yeah.
As we've seen on the Mauna.
Yeah.
As we've seen in many other situations, it's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, and that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Fill in again. What do you need help with? And like is it because we're born and raised on an island? I think the geography of where we were born and raised has a lot to do with our own heart, the way we love, the way we respect, because we literally grew up in this geographical feature that is an island.
Yeah, yeah.
And I only say that because I was going to ask you about creating worlds. Creating characters, but also creating worlds. Like when you're writing a story, that has a lot to do with the story itself. Like the character, the stage, the set is a character in and of itself that tells us a lot visually about the characters too. Yeah, yeah. So when you think about that, about Hawaii, like what does an island represent? What does looking at a horizon that is the ocean, where the sky meets the ocean for like 180 degrees of your view when you're standing on the toes in the sand, like that experience has a lot to do or a lot of impact on the character. Yeah. And if you just grow up in that, I know, be it a valley on that side of the island, be it over here on this side, catching sunsets, like I know there's a way, like an immeasurable impact that it has on me that I feel and I can't really articulate. Like, I don't know shit too, right?
Yeah.
But there's things that I can't articulate that I attribute to the landscape that I grew up in, which happens to be the west side of this island in the middle of the ocean. And strangely enough, I felt that way in South Africa and then also in Japan, because Japan's an island nation. New Zealand is too, right? I mean, I know there's a north and south, but like there's probably other little ones.
Yeah.
You know, but that islander, I found a different flavor of that islander bond in Japan.
Yeah.
Mountains and ocean, mountains on my back, ocean in front of me, that kind of feel.
Yeah.
But then oddly enough, when I was in South Africa, I felt it again because, I mean, Africa's an interesting place. Like, I can't even speak to it to the level that it deserves. But for me, it was like, I'm Black Japanese. So for me, I got to visit both motherlands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in Japan. And while I was living in Japan, I was like, I made a few trips to Africa, different nations, all like South Africa, Mozambique, Madagascar. Like, I've been to those 3 countries. It's not representative of Africa.
Yeah.
But I've been to those 3 African countries. And I felt what, to me, I would say was like aloha.
Yeah.
This familial bond.
Yeah.
But also the, not blood family, but, auntie, uncle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, I feel this too. And being that those 3 nations that I did visit all had like shorelines.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm in the ocean, mountains behind me. I felt that kind of feeling, and it just sort of expanded my, like, what I think of as the environment's impact on the person.
Yeah.
But also this universal feeling of, a universal feeling that is expressed in different languages.
Yeah.
And different vocabulary, different ways. But like, again, I don't know what I'm saying because I can't articulate the feeling. But I felt, standing on the ocean here, west side of Oahu, I felt that feeling in Japan. I felt that feeling in South Africa, Madagascar, Mozambique. Even on this small little island called Reunion Island. It's just a really small island in the Indian Ocean. And the more and more I'm like, got my feet in the ocean, the more and more I'm feeling this almost like esoteric. It's turning kind of esoteric, but like, you can't help but look at yourself like a character in that movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when I think of myself, my journey, I feel like there's this point coming to a montage point.
Yeah.
That is going to sort of pay off all of these instances that I'm struggling to articulate now into something that when I come out of on the other side, game time.
Yeah.
Big payoff.
Exactly.
So, I mean, and I don't know, how old are you? Like,
How old am I?
yeah, I feel like
33.
Yeah, see,
33, yeah.
I was gonna say 30-somethings feel this way.
Yeah.
I can't. I tried to have this conversation with 20-somethings.
Yeah.
Then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Likewise, 40-somethings, 50-somethings, 60-somethings.
Yeah.
They're looking at me like, yeah, all right. Wait, just wait a little while, young
Yeah,
buck.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just getting there, young buck.
Yeah.
But for now, 30-somethings, like having these kind of conversations, that's kind of a thing. Like I feel like there's this montage coming up for all of us.
Yeah.
Where we really step into our stride.
And the door is opening, honestly. Like, and that's the door that Jason Momoa, well, film wise, I feel like Jason Momoa and The Rock have opened for Hawaii and Polynesia. Like the doors, it's there's gonna be a room that's just open for, because you do have like Hispanic genre, and it goes anywhere from action, thriller to
Rom-com.
comedy. Yeah, rom-com.
Yeah.
And then you have like African American. That room's
That's
that
been
room's
open.
been open, and it's going. But the Polynesian room is like there's people in there and they're conversing and networking with each other, but and they're putting it on, But at the level of like Hollywood, I feel like that room is about to get packed like tenfold. So I'm just trying to jump in.
I mean, great. The more people are pushing at that door, the better, right?
Yeah.
What would you say? Again, because I have daughters. Moana. Love it or hate it. Disney, like we're literally right by Disney's, right?
Yeah.
And they, to their credit, they did a lot of research, hiring whatever, like cultural advisors, right?
Yeah.
The movie too. How much has that sort of opened the door?
Oh, immensely.
Yeah.
Because now people know enough about Polynesia. Like they know that we're now they can group us into like, oh, they're Asian, oh, they're black, oh, okay, they're Polynesian. Now we have a category, which is kind of wrong, but at the same time it's good because now we're on the map. And so the thing now is, how can we further educate them on, because we have tattoos and we do dances and we are loud and we have hair. We have hair.
You just described Maui's character.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody that was on the island, but it's like, okay, modern day Polynesia. What does that look like?
The modern
What would a modern day
backdrop
Polynesian comedy look like? What would a modern day Polynesian rom-com look like?
When you say modern, what does that mean to you?
Like today, just today, what we're experiencing every day right now.
So like technology, I always go to tech, but like technology, social media, like when we watch a movie, like a Chris Farley movie, for example, we can see the car, we know we're like 20, 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it as simple as that? Where the things people wear, the wardrobe, the things in their hands to modernize something? Or are we talking about more like, I would think, ideas? Modern, because there's been a shift as far as content and definitions that are modern.
Yeah.
So how much of that is going to play a part in this kind of modern Polynesian story?
Oh. A lot.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Did I?
No.
Let's keep it there.
Story.
I don't know.
I thought you were talking about my life, like getting. It's very prominent in there. It has. Oh man, here we go again. Because I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
if we could just not talk about this at all. It's very modern. Yeah.
Oh wait, when you answer that, I realized. Let me just change the battery in this one.
Okay.
Because also part of some improvements.
No, you're good.
She's like, babe, do you want me to be quiet? I was like, yeah, if you could. Thanks. If you don't mind, but when you say it in Japanese, you gotta go up a couple octaves. 少しもうちょっと静かにお願いします.
Yep.
Okay, modernist. What was
actually, it's, how do I explain this? It takes, so culture is definitely implemented into this like tenfold, and it kind of goes through the culture of like listening to your elders, the culture of like shutting up and just doing
Listen.
it, but then it takes that aspect, which has always been a core part of Polynesian culture, and it kind of brings it into modern day. So I think that's where I'm at.
With the sort of non-tangible identifiers of modernism, right? Like the cell phone, the wardrobe, stuff like that. The cars are driving, the buildings, right? Like if you go to a dystopian future movie, like the skyline will tell you, oh, we're in 2087 or something, right? You know, Blade Runner or whatever. But like the non-physical, non-tangible identifiers of modern, if it's, I'm thinking like Polynesian, there's a lot of overlap with Polynesian and Asian too. But one of them being your filial piety, your duty to your family.
Exactly.
Also your hierarchy of power in a family, right? Does that lie on the oldest son versus, you know, like the middle child syndrome? That's a whole nother thing in the Asian family. You know what I mean? But that which we could say is traditional. And so if you think like, can traditional and modern coexist? I think, yeah. And then when you show it, that you can have fun with that part. Like it can coexist. It does coexist if you just look around. Being modern, but also being traditional as far as like exhibiting traditional values in how you talk to your mom or whatever, right? Like there's still the traditional part in modern day. And so how do you show that? That becomes a part, actually Everything Everywhere All at Once. Kind of, there's some of that in there too, where I'm like, oh, I like how we're still dealing with these very traditional values today. So I'm happy to hear that. Also, I look at, I know it's a working title, but I see the photo. And that, shout out to Olo Stadium, rest in peace. I know they're going to like demolish it or whatever. But I look at that field and I think of when I missed my penalty kick.
Oh no. Dang.
State championship. So it kind of hurts to look at like, oh man. The only time Campbell High School soccer team made it to state. Well, I don't know if they probably made it since, but when we did, it was like we were trailblazing. Our class. 0-2 state finals against reigning champs Iolani, ILH, OIA. You know the timeless battle. We meet with the underdogs, right? The team that half of them came from the football team, recruited, and then the other half are like soccer players who play in the club. We were that team. It was 1-1, I think, after OT, and it went to penalty shootout. And like I got blocked. That's still a miss. That's still a miss, but like at least it was on target. But I felt the pressure. I felt this heightened sense of, I want to say like, you know, they say when time slows down. Every athlete has that, right? When time slows down. For me, it was like simply placing the ball on the spot was hard because it was so windy. I'm not used to playing on turf. So if you just put the ball down, it's going to roll. So it had to like get sand and like make a little tee. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? This ain't a par 3. What's going on? Like all of these things, these variables were like heightened, exaggerated. And I think that led to me just not being ready for the moment. And like, good thing there's no video like there. Otherwise, I would be like reliving it. Right now, it's just a memory. My teammates
that you play it over and over and over.
No, I see this and I'm like, that's where it happened. All 30 of our fans in the front row, like more or less an empty stadium. I think this stadium fits like 50,000 or something. But there was like 50. You know, like
it's still a lot.
Oh man, there's more than that. But like, I see that and I'm like, which, you know, anybody who's played sports in Hawaii, I think that's a great start because that's so relatable. Especially team sports, especially football with Polynesians. Like, you're already like striking some emotional. You know, like, I'm already invested a bit. Like,
I know I'm being like super secret about everything, and it's, I don't know. I'll tell you afterwards about it, but podcast wise, this.
I just feel like the pieces that you already shared have that potential. Especially to connect with someone who's like Mr. PK in there.
I feel it.
Fuck, hurts to this day.
Till this day.
Sorry, team.
21 years ago.
Wow. Actually, this year. I'll age myself. I mean, I have my 20th year anniversary this year.
Okay.
I missed the 10 year. I was in Japan, so this is the 20 year this year. And I'm thinking, I'm about to see people like we're in a completely different chapter now. And we've done a lot of adulting since we last met,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah. Jim Carrey, fifth one.
Fifth, what?
The fifth comedian.
Oh, oh,
Sorry.
yo, speak on.
Because Laces Out, Ace Ventura. That just reminded me of.
Okay. Dude,
my bad.
I appreciate that guy for. You could say he's a very much a physical actor too, or a physical comedian. Like what he does with his face it makes you laugh, like what Chris Farley does with his body.
Yeah.
But he does it like he does the whole body too.
Yeah.
But especially his face. And then I love how I wouldn't say he kind of redefined himself, but he broke out of the funny guy role.
Yeah.
Not just Eternal Sunshine, but like
amazing movie by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one that's like a love or hate.
Yeah.
People are like, wait, you like
then
that movie?
And then there
Ew.
was 23. Did you see 23 with
Jim
Oh
Carrey?
wait.
No. What was it?
Oh no, it wasn't Jim Carrey, was it?
23. I'm not familiar.
He was like obsessed with the number 23. I think.
Oh no, yeah. Numbers? I forgot what it's called, but
Yeah.
I
think it was 23. I don't know. And I'm sure it was him. But I remember seeing those movies and just being like weird, like feeling weird. But that's exactly how you're supposed to feel throughout the movie, which was perfect. So
and for anybody to sort of not break out the mold, but actually increase their repertoire. Like this is what I can do too.
yeah.
I don't want to say like some actors are always that actor.
Yeah.
Some comedians are always that comedian.
Yeah.
But he came out and was like, this is what else there's other tools I got.
Yeah.
And he delivered.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo. And even now I feel like, well, I'm curious to hear your take. Like, what do you think is the trajectory, career path of, let's say there's an 18-year-old kid who just graduated high school today. Let's even say he's from Hawaii. Let's even say he's from Kalihi, right?
Yeah.
What is the career path for him if he's like, I'm funny. I got the class award. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
8 years in a row. I'm the funny guy. I want to share it with more people. Like, what do you think that person is gonna? What would be the not prescription, but most likely path for that person?
Man. There's so many things that affect the route that you take. So I could say like you work construction and you just make all the guys laugh at construction, and you're perfectly fine with that. But then there's like something deeper, something more than yourself. Then that's a road it's a long road to. I mean, you can do the social media videos because that's for free. If you think you're funny and this is what I told people before the pandemic, because obviously right now the market in social media content creating is like overcrowded. But before that all went off, people would be like, I don't know how you guys do it, and this and that. And I was like, just grab the camera and start filming yourself. Like if you think you're funny and you think you have something funny, then just film it and then put it out there. Obviously, you're not going to get the views and the likes that you want because you're just starting out. But if you're consistent and if you build the character, then you get some likes, and then people are going to be like, oh, that guy's kind of funny, That's how I started out. Like I started doing skits in Utah with this group called Yosamo, then Stupid Friends, and then New Hawaii. Crichton hit me up because he just started this thing called New Hawaii. And it was just a hub for all local content creators to post their stuff on there. And so he invited me to start making stuff for that. And I had a few videos that popped off on there, and then I started doing my own content personally. So what I'm trying to say is like you have to look for, if you're passionate about it, and it depends on how far you want to go. Because if you just want to go, make my friends laugh at the construction job, then that's all you're going to get. If you want to go as far as making videos for Instagram, then that's as far as you're going to get, But like if you want to start making YouTube videos, or you want to start writing skits for like TV shows, if you want to, like, it depends on how much passion you have to go that far. And it kind of sucks because this is another thing. So for that kid, the Kalihi kid, 18 years old, wants to do it, I feel like social media has built up this instant gratification what is the word? Like we're in constant, we're constantly looking for instant gratification, and it sucks because the things that are going to progress you forward are not things that are going to give you instant gratification. You know,
See, that's the 30-something talking right there.
yeah,
Look,
yeah.
because it's not like we old OGs on the porch trying to preach, but I get it because we're in the thick of that part of it,
Yeah.
that part of the journey where it's the biggest, even the 5 million view video, even though you said like 2 minutes shooting, 5 minutes editing or something, to people that's all they might hear. Oh, 7 minutes, I can get 5 million views. Yeah, but there's the overnight success thing, right?
Yeah.
It took 10 years for me to be overnight success type of deal. You're forgetting the bulk of that equation.
Yeah.
And just saying, oh, it just takes this much minutes to get this much views. When really, if you think about it, and you're that young kid, it's like focus on this part of the journey that has very little results. But also, I would say that at 18, like just like us, we're 30-something. We still don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, we don't. I don't
So like, you be okay with that.
yeah.
Be okay with not having that crystal clear goal. If you have it, great. That's even better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's forced upon you by your parents, right? Like, and we can get into that kind of conversation, but like the clarity in action is only going to lead to wins or lessons. Both of those, it has a compounding effect that you just stack. And the benefit of a young 18-year-old right now is that they have time.
Yeah.
So they can get started today, and by the time they're 30-somethings,
Yeah.
completely change the game, be in a completely different
Yeah.
position. And I think for the benefit of having, let's say, media at an instant like today, the con is obviously the instant gratification kind of mindset.
Yeah.
But the benefit is actually being exposed to those who don't, for example, say, or like, I don't want to say preach, but like those who don't lean on that instant gratification part of the equation. And actually, I mean, that's kind of part of the whole goal of this, is to show the other part, the actual grind, repetition, the part that's like not necessarily cool or successful or gets the views. It's not viral,
Yeah.
but it's very much a part of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? Every time I have this conversation too, it kind of helps me with my clarity too on how to even communicate this thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's 100 bad videos. I'm like, well, it's repetition.
Yeah.
Repetition without attachment to results.
Yeah.
Is not slept on, but it's not celebrated as much as I think.
Yeah.
Everyone who's in the trenches knows to be true.
Yeah.
And so it's just bringing that collective, like me, that's my flag that I'm waving.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, show this part of the process.
Yeah.
And we all seen what comes out of it on our respective ends, right? But this is the part that I don't think has enough visibility, not enough awareness. And it's also kind of a dose of a reality check. I also want that to be a part of this, like a dose of reality coming from people with experience and results
Yeah.
for that young person.
Yeah.
And then they can balance out, okay, I want that. I think it's okay to want views.
Yeah.
It's okay to want dollars,
Yeah.
right? It's okay to want.
Yeah.
But, you know, this kind of sheds light on the other part of it too. The other part of the equation, which is, you know, do the things that you don't want. Wear 8 hats. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
You know what I mean? Like this
hate it.
guy is wearing more hats than he wants to, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's,
it
you
is.
know,
Yeah.
at least.
And the thing is too, you don't like, I didn't get here on my, I mean, I could say the statement, I got here on my own, but I did it with help, like a lot of help from so many people around me. And it's like constantly learning through others. And like, you're not going to get somewhere on your own. Like you, whether it's through a YouTube video or friends or stuff like that, you like, yeah.
And how much do you play like, what's the word? Sympathy and empathy. How much do you think you work out the empathy muscle? Because you're constantly, as a creator, you're constantly putting yourself in someone else's shoes to think, what would they think? Not what, I mean, of course, what I like to do is natural to me.
Yeah.
That's what's funny to me. But then you're also thinking about who's going to consume it or who it's for.
Yeah.
You're really, I mean, writing a screenplay, like you're thinking about the audience.
Yeah.
How much of a role does that play? Or is it just something so natural to you that it's like, oh, that's what they would like? Or do you have like those people around you that you know you can bounce these ideas off of?
In the beginning, it was like I had people to bounce ideas off of, and I still do. So, but with the videos that I currently do, it's more so like I know it's gonna be funny, and I don't need to bounce it off anybody. The videos I do now, like I said, is just to stay relevant on social media, because I've obviously built myself up to a number that's significant, which I'm grateful for, because I never thought that.
What is that number?
It's like over 60,000 right now. I think it's like 63 or 62, something like that. And it's the videos that I'm putting out now, I'm not putting much effort into. Like if you just go watch one of the videos, other than like the UH video that we did, the videos are just so short and sweet, and it's just like just to stay relevant.
And well, so that's more, you would say, I could see how this project, this is where you're pouring in right now.
Yeah,
and you're just maintaining that account.
Yeah,
to stay relevant.
Yeah.
But and there's how about that then? Like, how do you stay relevant on Instagram?
You just gotta. I mean, you obviously figure out, like from the beginning, you have to create a niche, and you just gotta nurture that niche throughout the whole time. I guess, I don't know, but for me right now, like staying relevant is just, I know what made people laugh in the past and what made people laugh 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I'm just going to continue doing that.
Would you say there's certain pillars that you know you can always go back to and people will laugh, versus always like searching for the new thing, the new...
Oh, there's, yeah, I agree with the pillars comment. It's for me right now, if you go to my page, it's just like I look for cringy videos of other people just doing cringy things, and then I ask myself, how can I put myself into that video and make it even more cringier and funny? And so that's what I'm. You look at that stuff, I don't even say anything in those videos.
No, so thank you for bringing that up, because I don't know the very first one that I saw you do, but and honestly, for me, I would just say it's a mix of like a reaction video, because one, the beautiful part that I see is you're repurposing existing content. So you literally don't have to create it.
Yeah.
And the platforms make it a lot easier for you on Instagram, TikTok. I don't use, but I know you can. Even YouTube, when you're uploading in studio, you have an option to let people remix, right?
Yeah.
So you're literally letting other people create content for you that you can use, right?
Yeah.
And then the actual part on your end to input the IP of the idea, but then also the actual shoot. Like you say, it could be just me and here, the green screen, right? And then I go and I find some picture of a store, because the video is the person, the guy dancing at the,
exactly.
It's like, oh, I just need a background of a store. Boom. Got it. Now I'm just going to record my reaction to that video.
Yep.
So the actual process of putting it together, I'm like, that is so genius.
You can see it, yeah.
That's genius and like efficient.
Yeah.
I see a beauty in efficiency.
The equation is find the background.
Yeah.
Second is you're the intro, like introduce yourself. And then, because you don't want to right off the bat show the cringe. Third is show the cringe.
Yeah.
Fourth is show your reaction to the cringe. And then fifth is like do something like punch. whether it's being choked or whether it's being slapped in the face by said cringe person,
The hand
or doing a silly dance with them. Like, so that's the equation. Like, if you just want to go do it right now, you could.
That's the 5 beats.
The Kulani Cutlass 5 beats right there.
Hey.
Find the cringe. Introduce yourself. Introduce the cringe. React to the cringe. And then do something funny, you know.
A little punch at
Get choked or slapped or dance or, you know, whatever there is happening in that video, try to make it a little bit more funnier, you know.
You know, that's actually something I thought. I was like, man, I love the efficiency of it, the efficiency hack of creating content. A lot of times videographers, especially like ones like myself who come from a polished cinematic background, which is weddings, sort of cut my teeth in weddings and then commercials. So like people are gonna, and this is in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's very much like a product.
Yeah.
This is what I see. I want that 10 times type of thing. So going back to our point about autopilot, like I can do that, but it's a lengthy, clunky, very analog process. When I see things like this, it's kind of a reaction like the one we were talking about. I'm like, it feels so empowering. Like I can do that. I can do, and you know what? It's funny.
Yeah.
It has more of an impact because more people will laugh than will feel good or cry when they see a wedding video or something.
Yeah.
Not to say there's, you know, it's just, again, it's just different.
Yeah.
Wedding videos carry a lot of weight with those people, with those families. But if you don't know this bride and groom, you don't really care. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a videographer trying to learn how to shoot that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But a funny video, like that we were talking about, like some clerk who's cringy dancing. Everybody can relate to that.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to like danger. I forgot there's a boils down to something like fear, love, sex. I forgot, like there's certain universal triggers. And
cringe.
And I feel like cringe is right there. And now you just, I don't say just, but like finding the cringe. And there's like accounts with probably even cringe in the handle.
Yeah.
But like that to me is such a beautiful equation.
Yeah.
Find the cringe. Insert yourself. You know, like,
and it's not so much that I'm trying to make fun of the person at all. It's like they posted this on their public page, you know, so it's out there. It's out there. All I'm trying to do is amplify like the comedy aspect in it, because I know I gotten flack in a few videos for.
Really? What do people say?
Like why would I tease this person? And I go back to the video and I'm just like, I didn't say anything in the video. I don't say anything in those videos. All it is pure reaction. Just like, you know, a quick like that, you know, just honestly, it's
Jim Carrey like face.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, and then like I said, the slap or something, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. I was like, where in the video did I? But people have opinions and things like that. But
do you read the comments?
Oh yeah, I do. I'm OCD with it, bro. Like, and I know I shouldn't be, because this goes back to my wife. She's always like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, just reading these comments." She's like, "Stop reading the comments." And I was like, "But so and so said," and she's like, "Who cares what so and so said?" I've recently been more mellow about like just letting things, like, you know, call a leaf, just let it slide right off.
Yeah.
Just like,
because water just drifts right off calla leaves.
Yeah. So I hate the comment section. I love the comment section. It's just when those people who don't follow you, who just stumbled upon your video like randomly, have something to say. It's like, well, that's their opinion, and I get the same way, because I want to voice my opinion on a lot of things that I see on like through Hungry Hawaiian or Meet Hawaii or the 808 brand or 808 Viral. There's things that they post, and it's nothing about the pages. It's about what's happening in the video. And I write like a paragraph, and then I go delete. I select all, delete, and I'm just like, that's all I needed, was just to get it off my chest.
You needed to type it out, think it out, structure it.
Yeah.
I don't need to hit post.
Yeah, don't need to hit post.
What's the longest comment that you've ever wrote then?
Probably a page worth.
Damn.
I can't remember what it was about, but I knew because I wrote it in notes first.
I was about to say, if you had to copy paste from an email or something.
I wrote it in notes first, and it was like, and I spent probably half an hour just like, because I wanted to hit every point that I wanted to get through, and I wanted to like fact over like feelings and all this stuff, and I just wrote it out, and I was like copy pasted it to the comment section, and then I took a deep breath and I was like, what is this gonna do? Because what's gonna happen is they're gonna come back at me with their opinion. This is the equation to everything. You have an opinion, somebody else has a different opinion, you guys fight about it, and then it just gets swept underneath the rug.
People forget about it.
And then people forget about it. And then it does, like, that's how I feel like anything that has to do with Hawaii goes, is that everybody has an opinion. We fight about it in the comment section. We feel good about ourselves and we get to pound our chest in the comment section. And then a day later, there's something else to complain about. And then we just complain about that thing and nothing gets resolved at all. So we feel good about ourselves because we got to get it off our chests. We got to say what we wanted to say. But at the end of the day, it didn't do nothing. So,
and I would say that's an argument to, well, I'm just thinking now, like, again, what if all the energy that went into the comment section went through a screenwriting process? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I feel like, oh, now we got something. Like if you, and you know what, with the help of AI today, maybe this is possible.
Yeah.
You find one of these posts that you're talking about. Let's go ahead. You are a copywriter professional. Take these comments, summarize it into, let's say, a 30-minute screenwrite, whatever. You could do these prompts. That would be interesting because now I feel like what comes out, the output of that would be something that has a little more legs.
Yeah.
Because the comment section is the comment section.
Yeah.
People think, I'm in the comment section.
Yeah.
But if you encountered that in the form of a video, on YouTube, long form.
Most times that's what I try to do, is that I see something like the, what happened? Like, what was it? I think it was the button when everything, no, I wasn't here for that, but I did make a video about that. It was like when the button was pressed and
the missile?
The missile alert thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't here during that time, but when it happened, like I made a video about it just to address it, just how stupid it was. And how did we not like go up in arms against the government and be like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? You know what I mean? Like, how are we still okay with that happened? I don't know. But it's the same thing. It's like we got to voice our opinions in the comment section and now it's dead.
Then what?
Yeah.
I almost feel like that's a distraction. Like if I were to put on my conspiracy hat, that's the biggest distraction because everyone sort of empties out their actions in the comment section so that they don't empty out the actions in real life.
Like,
and make a move, move the needle because this, like how you said, you wrote it and that satiated you.
Yeah.
Right? To the point where it's like, well, if you didn't do that, and then what else would you do? Maybe it would be something, quote unquote, in real life that would make a change, move the needle.
And then on top of all of that, you're arguing with an idiot. Someone who's not like, I'm not trying to say I'm the smartest person or anything like that, but I'm saying like, I understand how the world works. I have a degree. That sounds so like haughty of me to say, but it's like
I got you.
You kind of, but then this person's over here that just like is, I don't mean to put anybody under the bus that works at McDonald's, but like works at McDonald's and is just sitting on their couch for half the day. Like,
oh, they're probably at the register. Yeah.
And they're just, they're spitting out nothing that has to do with anything. But now you get all riled up and it takes away from your time and your energy and stuff like that. So
I could see a false sense of empowerment almost, or it's like,
So,
I said this to that person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the good and bad of like connectivity. Is like, yeah, you can go post on that person's socials. Yeah. It's not the same as actually being there, having a conversation, making that kind of impact. But like, I get it. It's there's no answer to this kind of thing.
Yeah, there isn't. There's not really, like, you go into the comment section, you're gonna get lost. It's like Inception. You just keep digging yourself further and further into a hole of nothingness.
Insert sexual joke. There's a few times I was like,
Wait
this could
for
be
it.
cut up. Yeah. No, man. Hey,
TikTok is wild, bro.
how so though? Because I've been thinking about TikTok. Convince me why.
I would say go to TikTok, and I mean it feeds, for me it would feed people to my Instagram if anything, but TikTok is just so people get followers fast there, which is good because that's what you've been searching for your whole life, you know, as a content creator or whatever. If you do anything in social media, that's what you want, you know, is the following. But you can just blow up overnight, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the content of what's being made, and then I don't know. For me, it's like how do I explain it? Because I haven't posted to TikTok like religiously. Everything is on Instagram because I do know I'm going to where I get the attention. Like as clout chasing as that sounds, like I was getting on the up and up with TikTok, and then I just stopped, and then I just didn't get back to where I needed to be. I saw that I got more attention with Instagram, and then they do have a monetizing tool on Instagram that pays out a lot more than TikTok would.
Really?
In my experience, but and then from people that I've talked to, it's like, oh, like once you hit 1 million, like that's when you can start monetizing or something, or that's when you should start. There's just, I mean,
everyone's doing it their own way, right?
Everyone's doing it their own way. For me, it's going back to that instant gratification and like just, how do I say without like dumb people. It's like the Kardashians having a voice, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, why do I care about what the Kardashians say? So it's like the same thing with TikTok. It's like some idiot with a huge following, which can be said the same about me. Like, I don't know. I just don't really care for TikTok. I don't have a good argument as to why, but.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, we can wrap it up here, but like when you said monetizing, because Instagram, that's a fairly recent thing, monetizing content. TikTok, there's been talk about that. YouTube has been the OG in the space.
Yeah,
and they've actually upped the game, not just with shorts, monetizing shorts, but also opening the door for podcasts, a whole new distribution model behind that, reaching new audience to that point, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, and personally, I have more experience with YouTube. And so all of these platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, have that short format built into it.
Yep.
Some that's all they are, but YouTube is extra.
Yeah.
Not only that, they're the largest search engine in the world. So there's that to it. And you could argue more favorable monetization options for the creator. But I think with the short conversations I've had with you, as well as like David, a couple other guys on that day, the monetization on Instagram wasn't enough compared to when they have conversations with people on YouTube. Yeah. And so, and for me, coming from a YouTube background, I see this is the eternal debate. You want views or dollars? People say, oh, I want views so I can get monetize and get dollars. But I would say there's people who are literally making millions of dollars who have like less than 1,000 followers, who don't have a blue badge. Why? Because they're using it to just channel people towards their already functioning, already in motion business, which is kind of like the function of a website 10, 20 years ago. Yeah. Just use your account on whatever platform it is as one top of funnel entry to whatever it is you're already doing. Yeah. So you're just going to increase your sales. Now you can focus on that bottom of funnel action, money-making activities. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. And then we could argue about what platforms facilitate that better, right? And I always felt like YouTube, one, the relevancy. Like a YouTube video 2 years ago could pop off right now. Yeah. Can an Instagram video from 2 years ago pop off right now? Right?
No.
I don't know about TikTok. I can't speak on that. But the relevancy, first and foremost, is the biggest like pro to YouTube over Instagram. Another one would be searchability.
Mm-hmm.
You're connected to the largest search engine in the world.
Yeah.
Two, right? So then automatically your distribution just explodes.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit more when it comes to flavors or genres in the YouTube space because there's just more participants.
Yeah.
So you can catch people who are over there in entertainment world, who are over there in motivation world,
Yeah.
and come over here for some education or whatever, like curated content, lifestyle content. So there's a little bit more cross breeding, I would say, going on in the YouTube ecosystem. And as a content creator, both of us are, just different ways, right? I tend to lean towards YouTube, and I'm a little bit more interested in how cross-platforming works.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if I had TikTok, I would just direct them to my Instagram,
Same.
right? If I had Instagram, I'd direct them to my YouTube.
Yep.
And all of this. And really, it depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
So it's a puzzle. I feel like we're fumbling our way through it, figuring it out.
Yeah. Definitely.
Thanks for all the insight that you gave us.
Yeah. Oh.
I
don't know if that.
yeah, bro. No,
It's
huge,
insane.
bro. Tell the peeps, like, where can they find you?
Mostly, like I said, Instagram. You can at Cutlass, CUT_LASS. That's pretty much where I post anything and everything. TikTok's not going. There's a YouTube page. It's collective.
Shout out
amongst
to
the guys.
YouTube.
It's Mixed Plate Official. It's just a collective for the guys that are in the group. We haven't been posting on that recently because everybody's just been doing their own thing. So, but for the main, it's Cutlass. Find me on Instagram. Yeah.
And then the give us a little, like, when can we expect?
Oh man, so it's a work in progress. So like we're talking about, this is kind of a tangent, but like we're talking about, can't put all our eggs in one basket with this. So this is it's ready. It's to be looked at and seen, but I'm working on like I've got like 3 different things written, and so I'm planning this year to come out with a short film. Hopefully, crossing my fingers for that. Maybe in July, record it, and then end of the year have it ready. And then I'm working on another feature film. I'm working on writing another feature film. I'm about 60 pages in with that. Gonna write another probably 20 pages, and that one's gonna be like all Hawaii based. So, hopefully, we do the short film, get my name out there, and then work on the feature film that's like an hour long, get that out there, and then hopefully that will get my name out enough to get the big one out there. So,
Well, hey, man, anytime you want to shoot content for the promotion or anything, you just want to talk about it, you're welcome here. Open door policy with you. Thank you, man, for coming through. Kulani, Cutlass, find them, and appreciate you, bro.
appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Guarantee.
Yeah.